This summer, me and Evan got 2 electric bikes. We're really excited about this. Evan got the Super73, I got the Sur-ron X.
He has dreamed about this his whole life. Oh, fuck! That is not good.
We'd been drooling over these bikes for a little while and went ahead and pulled the trigger. Our first thought with these is, how do we mount cameras at this? Because that's going to be awesome. So we've got some GoPros on there, and that's always fun. But how do we take it to the next level and kind of up the production quality? Movi put out a video a while back when they were releasing their Movi Carbon. In this video, they have a really small electric bike that has the Carbon mounted to the front. They called it the Land Shark. The results this camera had and the whole idea behind it was very attractive to me because of the versatility of a bike. The idea of being on a bike gives you kind of some freedom you'd never have on a four-wheeled vehicle. You can go into footpaths, skinnier paths, a lot of places you couldn't go before. Mounting these cameras on both bikes presented their own challenges. With the Super73, there is a lot of places to mount, and there's through holes, so there was a very solid place to mount. Well, it did require some machining as far as getting the plates in the places I needed. I also created my own shock mount for this system, basically using steel cable and a couple of plates and aluminum plates I had sitting around. 80/20 is kind of the main bracket for this, and I just kind of built off of that platform to make a drop down, and we did some tests as far as making sure it was rigid and going to hold, as well as compressing the suspension to make sure that we weren't going to bottom out the camera. Every once in a while, when building rigs like this, you kind of have to get custom with it, and there was a few pieces I needed to grind down or put some new holes into and kind of make room for separate bolts that needed to mount it up in a certain way. A lot of this is kind of, I went into it with not a huge amount of planning, but I did know what I wanted to do. So between the pieces of aluminum and a couple pieces of steel I had sitting around, I was able to make it work. Now the Sur-ron was a little more challenging. I had a few ideas as far as how I wanted to mount it, but I really didn't want to put permanent holes into my frame. So with this, I was kind of banking on some end jaw Cardellini's that I didn't have. And I wasn't able to get access to that day. So I made it work with the clamps that we had, and it was a little less than ideal, but it ultimately worked great, and I even used a little bit of paracord to kind of support the whole system at the front. Now, half the challenge is getting it mounted, but the other half of the challenge is knowing that it's not going to fall off. So now that the engineering is done, we have to kind of live with that thought in the back of your mind that this thing could fall off. I mean, none of it's made to a spec that's been tested in a factory. It's all custom made right now. So we kind of have to take that with a grain of salt and make a decision on what we're going to put on there. Granted, we're not going to put our most expensive lens and our most expensive camera on for this maiden voyage. So we went with the C300 Mark II, which is not necessarily a cheap camera, but we're not going to put our red on there first go. As well as the lens, we're not going to put our nice cine zooms on there for our first go around. And I also think I would spend a little more time engineering, a little more stress tests before I would put something a little more expensive on there. But this camera's going to be great. We're going to get some great results. And when you look at the Super73 and think, maybe that's sketchy, you might think, wow, the Sur-ron's really sketchy. Now, I don't think it's going to fall off. You really never know, but that's why we just went with as light as possible. As light as the rig we can do. I mean, the lighter, the less likely it's going to fall off. I hope it doesn't fall off. So we've got the bikes, we've got the cameras mounted, but what are we going to film with this? What is going to be that thing that you couldn't do with a four-wheeled vehicle, or another scenario where it's like, this is totally justified? Well, Evan and I were out on a ride, and we kind of just crashed right into it. So that was really unfortunate, but we made some friends in the process and also realized that this was the perfect thing to film with the bikes.
So today I brought you guys out to one of my favorite spots up here in Cleveland. We have the Tremont location where we host our King of Cleveland race. It's a night race, and the path here it's kind of a divey all grip run, so I thought it'd be pretty safe to bring out the camera crew and everybody out here to kind of like film a little stuff and get acquainted with doing fast downhill skateboarding filming.
With a little help from our interns, we were loaded up and ready to shoot. We got to location, unloaded, and kind of made a plan as far as how we were going to attack the day. Today we're doing our first test. We have 2 gimbal setups. One is the Movi Pro with the C300 Mark II on the back of Evan's Super73. The other rig we have is a little more low profile. It's a A7 III on a DJI Ronin S on a little spring arm on the front of my Sur-ron X. So we both got our electric bikes this year. We really wanted to do some fun stuff with gimbals off of them. So we're getting comfortable. We got Celia on the back of Evan's bike to control the Movi. So we're gonna, test that out, and they're doing a little test runs here, so you can check them out. They're just getting comfortable on the bike and making sure they're good to go. The biggest thing with making this work was getting the flow of how Tim attacked the hill. He doesn't have brakes, he doesn't have a gas, he's just got gravity, his body, and the trail. As he goes through each turn, he has ways of braking as far as turning the board and sliding to slow down, as well as using his body to air brake. But as the drivers of the bike, we kind of needed to figure out how fast he was going to be going into each corner. And with a lead bike, we needed to do some practice runs, because if Tim was gaining on us, we needed to be able to know when to speed up, and if we were losing him, we needed to know when to slow down. Evan was the driver of the Super73, and we needed to decide who was going to operate the camera. Now, obviously, I was excited to do so, but once I sat on that bike and Evan started moving, he's like, "This ain't gonna work, big buddy." I was just a little too much top heavy weight for him. So Celia got the job. She had the light build we needed to make it down the hill safely. It was kind of her first time using the controller. We had a PS4 controller for the gimbal, and I think she did really great for her first time, but we were also learning a lot throughout the process, and I'm glad she got to have a little fun on it. After we felt comfortable with what we were doing with the Movi, we moved on to the Ronin on the Sur-ron and did some chase runs. The major difference between the 2 bikes is that the Movi is operated and you can pan and tilt, and the Ronin is just in majestic mode looking straight ahead, so your framing comes from steering. So there was a one-man show, and I did my best to frame as well as drive and go fast and slow. It was fun. Being our first time ever doing this, we were really satisfied with the results we got. Obviously, tons of things we would do differently, lots of things we learned, and we're just excited to do it again. And it's kind of a nice thing we can offer to clients in the future. This whole experience was a lot of fun, and we made some friends, and we didn't break anything majorly, so that was a big win for us. And honestly, just a huge fun and good learning experience for our future endeavors with the bikes. If the electric bikes are interesting to you, please check out my channel Volted Moto, where I'm going to be doing a lot of videos about the Cernanec, Super73, and whatever electric bikes I can get my hands on. We want to thank all the people who helped us out, Celia and Michael on the day, and a big thanks to Tim for making this happen. We're really excited to do some more content with him in the future, and check out his Instagram. Make sure to follow him and his whole crew that does really amazing downhill skateboarding. If you have any questions about any part of our process, please put in the comments. Or if you'd like to see us do anything specific with the bikes and the camera rigs, please let us know. We would love ideas on new exciting projects. That wraps us up. Please hit that subscribe button, smash that like button 2 or 3 times, but not an even number of times, because that would make it unlike and like and re-like and unlike. But make sure it's odd number, because that would mean you hit the like button. Thanks so much, and we'll catch you on the next one. Like and unlike and like and re-like and unlike odd number. Please, 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 please hit the button. Hit the button.